Get back to the ghetto where you belong, you filthy animal. Harrison Blackwood towers over Victoria Sterling, his face twisted with pure hatred. The pregnant black woman in her elegant white dress stares up at the billionaire, 7 months of life growing inside her. He raises his wine glass high above her head. Without hesitation, Blackwood hurls the entire glass of red wine directly into Victoria's face. The crimson liquid explodes across her brown skin, streaming down her cheeks like blood. The Grand Regency ballroom freezes. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light on the assault as 300 elite guests witness the attack. Victoria's hand moves protectively to her unborn child. "There," Blackwood sneers, straightening his diamond cufflinks. "Now you look like the savage monkey you really are." Victoria stands perfectly still, red wine cascading from her face onto the marble floor. Her dark eyes meet his with deadly calm. Have you ever watched someone unknowingly sign their own death sentence? Victoria Sterling wakes at dawn in her penthouse overlooking Central Park. Sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows as she places her hand on her growing belly, feeling her daughter kick against her palm. The apartment whispers of quiet luxury. Italian marble countertops, original Basquiat paintings, fresh orchids arranged in crystal vases. She moves slowly through her morning routine, pregnancy making each step deliberate. Steam rises from her coffee cup as she reviews legal briefs at the breakfast table. Her walls display photographs with Supreme Court justices, civil rights leaders, and newspaper clippings celebrating her victories against corporate discrimination. Victoria Sterling isn't just any attorney. She's the wife of Anthony Tony Sterling, though few in her professional world know what that truly means. Tony Sterling built his empire in the shadows. The Sterling crime family controls every major port from Boston to Philadelphia. Shipping containers filled with more than legitimate cargo pass through Sterling-owned docks. Casino chips bearing his family crest circulate through underground gambling networks that generate millions weekly. Construction workers wearing Sterling hard hats pour foundations for skyscrapers, their union dues flowing into accounts that fund more than retirement plans. Waste management trucks bearing Sterling logos collect more than garbage, disposing of problems that require permanent solutions. The organization operates with surgical precision. Federal investigations have targeted the Sterling family for 2 decades, yet Tony has never spent a night in jail. Witnesses develop selective amnesia. Evidence mysteriously disappears. Prosecutors find themselves reassigned to traffic court. Victoria lives protected by this invisible shield. In courtrooms across the city, judges who owe their appointments to Sterling influence listen carefully when she speaks. Opposing counsel often settles cases rather than face the mysterious complications that plague those who challenge her too aggressively. Tonight's charity gala represents 2 worlds colliding. The Children's Future Foundation event brings together Manhattan's legitimate elite with figures whose wealth carries different origins. Victoria serves on the foundation board, her legal victories having generated substantial donations for underprivileged youth education. Harrison Blackwood inhabits only the visible layer of this world. His tech empire, Blackwood Industries, dominates government contracts worth billions. Server farms process data for federal agencies while his algorithms analyze intelligence for homeland security. His success came through ruthless corporate tactics, hostile takeovers, and crushing smaller competitors. Blackwood moves through society believing money equals ultimate power. His penthouse towers above the city like a monument to capitalism. Private jets carry him between board meetings while his yacht hosts senators and cabinet members. He donates millions to political campaigns, expecting loyalty in return. The billionaire's prejudices run deeper than business strategy. Behind closed boardroom doors, he refers to diversity initiatives as quota contamination. Internal emails reveal his systematic exclusion of minority contractors despite their competitive bids. Discrimination lawsuits against Blackwood Industries settle quietly with ironclad non-disclosure agreements. Tony Sterling cannot attend tonight's gala. Business requires his presence at a different kind of meeting. In a private dining room across town, 5 capos sit around a mahogany table discussing territorial expansion into Atlantic City. Maps spread across polished wood show casino locations and shipping routes. Numbers written in careful handwriting represent profits that will never appear on tax returns. The absence carries meaning in both worlds. Victoria represents the Sterling family at legitimate social functions, her presence commanding respect from those who understand the true power structure. Judges nod politely. Politicians shake her hand with genuine warmth. Business leaders offer their cards, hoping for future considerations. The Grand Regency ballroom buzzes with conversations worth billions. Pharmaceutical executives discuss drug pricing with health insurance CEOs. Defense contractors share cocktails with Pentagon officials. Oil company presidents laugh with environmental regulation administrators. Victoria enters wearing her grandmother's diamond necklace, each stone catching light like captured stars. The white silk maternity dress flows around her 7-month pregnancy, tailored to perfection by designers who compete for her business. Her presence draws subtle acknowledgement from those who matter. She doesn't notice Harrison Blackwood watching from across the room, his blue eyes narrowing with disgust. The billionaire sees only what he chooses to see, a black woman in a space he considers exclusively white. His privilege blinds him to the dangerous reality surrounding him. Security cameras positioned throughout the ballroom will capture everything. Cell phones rest in designer purses, ready to record moments that will define reputations. Social media algorithms wait to amplify content that generates outrage and engagement. The stage is set for collision between two forms of power. One believes billions provide immunity from consequences. The other knows that true authority operates beyond the reach of federal banking regulations. Victoria approaches the champagne table, unaware that her husband's world is about to reveal itself to someone who should have stayed invisible. The champagne table gleams under crystal light as Victoria Sterling approaches. Bubbles rise in crystal flutes while servers arrange delicate canapes on silver platters. Her white maternity dress rustles softly against the marble floor as she reaches for sparkling cider, her hand resting protectively on her rounded belly. Harrison Blackwood intercepts her path like a predator cornering prey. His 6-foot frame towers over her as he positions himself between Victoria and the refreshment table. The scent of his expensive cologne mingles with the metallic smell of his contempt. "Excuse me, miss," Blackwood drawls, his voice dripping with condescension. "I believe the service staff entrance is around back. This area is reserved for actual guests." Victoria turns slowly, her dark eyes meeting his pale blue ones. Her voice remains steady despite the obvious insult. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. I'm Victoria Sterling. I serve on the foundation board." Blackwood's laugh comes out as a sharp bark that draws attention from nearby conversations. Several guests pause their discussions to watch the interaction unfold. Cell phones discreetly shift toward the confrontation as the tension becomes palpable. "Sterling?" he sneers, circling her like a shark sensing blood. "What did you do? Marry some old white man desperate enough to give you his name? Let me guess. Another affirmative action success story playing dress-up among her betters." The words hit like physical blows, but Victoria maintains her composure. Her grandmother's diamond necklace catches the light as she straightens her shoulders. Years of courtroom battles have taught her to remain calm under attack. "Mr. Blackwood, I think there's been a misunderstanding," she says quietly, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being heard. "I'm here as a board member and guest, just like yourself." "Board member?" Blackwood's voice rises, attracting more attention from the crowd. "You people are everywhere now, aren't you? Crawling into places where you don't belong, demanding respect you haven't earned." Senator Patricia Walsh notices the commotion from across the room. Her champagne glass pauses halfway to her lips as she recognizes Victoria. The senator's face pales slightly. She knows exactly who Victoria Sterling's husband is and what this confrontation could mean. "Harrison, perhaps we should—" Senator Walsh starts to intervene, but Blackwood waves her away dismissively. "No, Patricia. Someone needs to address this invasion of inappropriate people crashing events meant for civilized society." His eyes narrow as he studies Victoria's pregnancy, and bringing their breeding projects along for sympathy points. The racist attack on her unborn child triggers something dangerous in Victoria's expression. For just a moment, her carefully maintained composure cracks, revealing steel beneath silk. Her voice drops to a whisper that somehow carries more menace than shouting. "Mr. Blackwood, you're making a very serious mistake." "Mistake?" Blackwood laughs again, emboldened by what he perceives as weakness. The only mistake here is whatever diversity quota allows you through those doors. You want to know what your real problem is? He steps closer, a wine glass raised in his right hand. The crystal catches light like a weapon as red wine swirls within. His voice becomes a theatrical performance for the growing audience of smartphones. You people are always trying to be where you don't belong. Always demanding special treatment because of the color of your skin. Always playing victim when real Americans put you back in your place. The ballroom holds its breath. Even the string quartet in the corner seems to play more quietly, as if sensing the approaching storm. Victoria's hand moves protectively over her belly as Blackwood raises his glass higher. Maybe it's time someone taught you a lesson about knowing your station in life. Without warning, Harrison Blackwood hurls the entire contents of his wineglass directly into Victoria's face. Red wine explodes across her brown skin like blood spattering a canvas. The liquid streams from her hair down her cheeks, soaking into her white maternity dress and dripping onto her pregnant belly. Wine pools at her feet on the marble floor as gasps echo throughout the ballroom. Victoria stands frozen, crimson liquid cascading from her face. Her eyes close momentarily as wine drips from her eyelashes. When she opens them again, something has fundamentally changed in her expression, a coldness that makes several nearby guests step backward instinctively. "There," Blackwood announces to his audience, straightening his diamond cufflinks with satisfaction. "Now you look like the savage monkey you really are. Maybe next time you'll remember to use the servants' entrance where animals belong." The silence that follows feels deadly. 300 of New York's most powerful people watch in stunned horror as wine continues dripping from Victoria's face. Cell phones capture every moment, uploading videos that will soon trend across social media platforms. Victoria slowly wipes wine from her eyes with the back of her hand. Her voice, when it comes, carries the quiet authority of someone who has never needed to raise it to be obeyed. "Mr. Blackwood, I want you to remember this moment. Remember my face. Remember my name. Because I promise you, my family will remember yours." The words seem ordinary to most listeners, but Senator Walsh visibly shudders. Judge Morrison, standing near the chocolate fountain, quietly sets down his dessert and moves toward the exit. Several other politically connected guests suddenly remember urgent appointments elsewhere. Blackwood, oblivious to the subtle exodus around him, basks in what he perceives as victory. "Your family?" he mocks. "What are they going to do, file a discrimination lawsuit? Sue me for hurting your feelings? I have more lawyers than you have relatives, sweetheart." Victoria doesn't respond. Instead, she turns and walks calmly toward the restroom, wine still dripping from her dress. Her movements remain dignified despite the humiliation, each step measured and purposeful. In the ladies' room, Victoria stands before an ornate mirror. Red wine stains her brown skin like war paint as she pulls out her cell phone. Her reflection shows no tears, no trembling, only a composure that would terrify anyone who truly understood its meaning. She dials a number she knows by heart. "Tony?" she says when the call connects, her voice steady as granite. "It's me. I need you to know what just happened." The voice on the other end listens without interruption as Victoria describes the assault. When she finishes, silence stretches for long seconds before Tony Sterling speaks. "Harrison Blackwood just threw wine in your face, in public, while you're carrying my child?" "Yes," Victoria confirms, watching herself in the mirror. "In front of 300 people. It's already being recorded and shared." Another pause. When Tony's voice returns, it carries the cold precision of a man accustomed to solving permanent problems. "I understand, Principessa. Come home now. Immediately. Let me handle Mr. Blackwood." Victoria ends the call and begins carefully cleaning wine from her face with paper towels. Each movement is methodical, almost ritualistic. She knows that across the city, her husband is already making different kinds of phone calls. In the ballroom, Harrison Blackwood holds court among admirers, recounting his handling of the situation. He poses for selfies with supporters, completely unaware that he has just declared war on one of the most dangerous men in America. His ignorance will not last much longer. The Sterling compound in Queens comes alive at midnight like a military operation activating for war. Tony Sterling sits behind his mahogany desk while 5 capos arrange themselves in leather chairs around the office. The scent of Cuban cigars mingles with cologne and the metallic taste of violence hanging in the air. Salvatore Sal Benedetto leans forward, his scarred knuckles white against the chair arms. "Boss, we got the video from 12 different angles. This piece of shit threw wine in Victoria's face while she's carrying your baby." Tony Sterling's expression remains carved from stone, but his dark eyes burn with controlled fury. At 40, he built the Sterling crime family into an empire that spans from Boston to Philadelphia. Men twice his age defer to his judgment. Federal agents wake up screaming his name from nightmares. "Tell me everything about Harrison Blackwood," Tony says quietly, his voice carrying the deadly calm that precedes hurricane-force destruction. Vincent Vinny Torino slides a thick manila folder across the desk. "We got it all, boss. Blackwood Industries worth $8 billion. He has lived alone since his divorce 3 years ago. 2 kids who won't talk to him. Penthouse on 5th Avenue, office building in Midtown." "Security?" Tony asks, flipping through surveillance photographs showing Blackwood's daily routines. "Civilian company, nothing serious. The rich boy thinks money makes him untouchable." Vinny's gold tooth catches light as he grins. "He ain't never dealt with people like us." Tony studies images of Blackwood's building, his limousine routes, his favorite restaurants. His mind calculates angles and vulnerabilities with the precision of a chess grandmaster planning mate in 20 moves. Each photograph reveals another pressure point in Blackwood's seemingly secure existence. "Phase 1 starts now," Tony announces. "I want him to understand that his comfortable world is disappearing. Nothing violent yet. Just make his life complicated." Within 6 hours, Harrison Blackwood's perfectly ordered existence begins developing cracks that will soon become chasms. His Bentley sits in the private garage beneath his building, all 4 tires slashed to ribbons. Security cameras mysteriously malfunction between 2 and 3 a.m., showing only static during the crucial time period. The garage attendant calls in sick with food poisoning, leaving Blackwood stranded without transportation on the morning of his most important board meeting. At Blackwood Industries headquarters, the morning shift security guards fail to report for duty. Their supervisor receives resignation letters delivered by courier, each citing personal safety concerns, without elaboration. The building management scrambles to find temporary replacements, leaving the 30-story lobby unmonitored for 3 critical hours. Blackwood's personal assistant, Margaret Carter, receives a phone call at 7 a.m. The voice is polite but firm. "Miss Carter, this is regarding your employment with Mr. Blackwood. We strongly suggest you consider other opportunities. Today would be an excellent day to start looking." Margaret hangs up trembling and immediately submits her resignation via email. 23 years of loyal service end with a 2-sentence message citing personal reasons for her immediate departure. Her desk sits empty by noon, family photos and coffee mug conspicuously absent. The dominoes continue falling with surgical precision orchestrated by Sterling family associates embedded throughout the city's infrastructure. Blackwood Industries' main supplier of computer processors experiences unexpected delays. Shipping containers bound for New York ports develop mysterious documentation problems that require extensive review. Construction permits for the new headquarters expansion get flagged for environmental impact studies that could take months to resolve. The Sterling family's influence operates like invisible fingers strangling Blackwood's business operations. Union workers at Sterling-controlled shipping companies discover urgent safety concerns that require immediate attention. Truckers transporting Blackwood merchandise encounter mechanical problems that strand vehicles on remote highways for hours. Banking relationships that took decades to cultivate suddenly require additional documentation. Credit lines face unexpected reviews. Insurance policies need reevaluation due to changing risk assessments. Each delay costs millions while Blackwood's competitors gain market advantage. By Tuesday afternoon, Blackwood's stock price dropped 8%. Financial analysts cite supply chain disruptions and operational inefficiencies without understanding the true cause. Board members demand explanations for problems that seem to multiply exponentially by the hour. Meanwhile, video of the wine assault spreads across social media like wildfire consuming dry timber. #wine assault trends nationally as millions share footage of a billionaire attacking a pregnant black woman. The optics are devastating. A powerful white man publicly humiliating someone he perceives as powerless and defenseless. Cable news networks loop the assault footage while legal experts debate potential criminal charges. Civil rights organizations issue statements demanding justice and accountability. Celebrity activists share the video with commentary about systemic racism and unchecked white privilege in corporate America. But Tony Sterling doesn't care about public opinion or social media outrage. He cares about respect, honor, and the sacred rule that family is untouchable under any circumstances. Harrison Blackwood remains oblivious to the true source of his mounting problems. He attributes the difficulties to social justice warriors and liberal media persecution. During a Fox News interview, he doubles down on his behavior with characteristic arrogance. "I regret that people misinterpreted my actions," Blackwood says, his blue eyes showing no genuine remorse. Victoria Sterling represents everything wrong with modern America, using race and pregnancy to manipulate situations for personal gain and sympathy. The interview clips spread across conservative social media, generating support from racist viewers who applaud his courage to speak uncomfortable truths. Blackwood mistakes this encouragement for vindication, completely missing the danger circling closer with each passing hour. Tony Sterling watches the interview from his office, surrounded by men who have made careers of solving problems permanently. His expression never changes, but his fingers drum against the desktop, a nervous habit his associates recognize as extremely dangerous. "Boss," Sal Benedetto says carefully, "maybe it's time to send a clearer message." "Not yet," Tony replies, his voice barely above a whisper. "Let him dig the hole deeper. I want him to understand exactly what he's losing before he loses everything." The pressure campaign intensifies across multiple fronts simultaneously. Blackwood's favorite restaurants suddenly have no availability when he calls for reservations. His country club membership faces review for conduct unbecoming a gentleman. Private banking relationships that took decades to build develop unexpected complications requiring extensive documentation reviews. His home security system malfunctions repeatedly, triggering false alarms that bring police to his building 3 times in one night. The doorman quits without notice, leaving only a brief message about accepting a better opportunity elsewhere that pays significantly more. Blackwood hires a private security firm, but the company cancels his contract within 48 hours. The owner apologizes profusely while explaining that scheduling conflicts make it impossible to provide adequate coverage for someone with his profile. Personal relationships crumble under mysterious pressure that no one discusses openly. His closest friend, pharmaceutical executive David Morrison, stops returning phone calls after receiving an unexpected visit from well-dressed men who politely suggested that loyalty has practical limits. His ex-wife Jennifer receives flowers with a note reading, "Some mistakes affect entire families. Choose wisely." She immediately calls her lawyer to discuss modifying their custody arrangement, citing security concerns for their children's safety and well-being. By Friday, Blackwood's world has contracted significantly. His business operates with skeleton staff while supply chain problems multiply daily like cancer cells spreading through healthy tissue. Social invitations disappear as former allies discover urgent reasons to maintain distance from his toxic reputation. The billionaire's arrogance prevents him from connecting these events to his assault on Victoria Sterling. He sees persecution, but not consequences, harassment, but not justice. His privilege has insulated him from accountability for so long that he cannot recognize its systematic removal. Late Friday night, Blackwood sits alone in his penthouse, nursing expensive scotch and scrolling through social media attacks. The wine assault video has been viewed 40 million times across platforms. His company's stock continues declining while competitors circle like vultures sensing weakness and opportunity. He picks up his phone to call Margaret Carter, forgetting she quit days earlier. The number disconnects after 2 rings. His personal attorney doesn't answer. His publicist sends calls directly to voicemail with increasing frequency. For the first time, true unease creeps into Harrison Blackwood's consciousness. Not fear yet, his privilege runs too deep for genuine terror, but recognition that his perfect world has developed disturbing cracks that threaten its foundation. He pours another scotch and stares out at the city lights, unaware that in a warehouse across Queens, Tony Sterling is reviewing phase 2 of a plan that will strip away everything Blackwood believes makes him untouchable. The Sterling family has spent a week demonstrating their reach through subtle pressure and economic warfare. Now comes education about their true capabilities and willingness to use them. Harrison Blackwood is about to learn the difference between wealth and actual power. Monday morning arrives with the scent of fear permeating Harrison Blackwood's corner office. His hands shake as he reviews quarterly reports showing catastrophic losses across every division. Supply chain disruptions have cost $40 million in the past week alone. The private investigator sits across from Blackwood's mahogany desk, a manila folder thick with surveillance photographs and financial records spread between them. Marcus Webb has spent 15 years investigating corporate espionage and white-collar crime, but his weathered face shows genuine concern. "Mr. Blackwood," Webb begins, his voice tight with nervous tension. "You need to understand exactly who you're dealing with. Victoria Sterling isn't just any civil rights attorney." Blackwood waves dismissively, his arrogance intact despite mounting evidence of systematic destruction. "I don't care if she's Thurgood Marshall reincarnated. No lawyer scares me, Webb. I have an entire legal department." Webb slides a black and white surveillance photograph across the desk. It shows a man in his early 40s stepping out of a black Lincoln Continental, flanked by two associates whose bulk suggests purposes beyond legitimate business consulting. "That's Anthony Sterling. They call him Tony the Architect because he builds things that last forever, including burial sites." Webb's voice drops to barely above a whisper. "He's the Don of the Sterling crime family, one of the most powerful organized crime syndicates on the East Coast." The color drains from Blackwood's face like water flowing down a sink. His expensive fountain pen clatters against the desktop as his fingers lose their grip. The photograph stares back at him. A man whose dark eyes contain the kind of coldness that comes from ordering deaths without losing sleep. "The Sterling family controls everything from Boston to Philadelphia," Webb continues, his words hitting like hammer blows. "Drugs, gambling, construction, waste management, dock workers, trucking unions. They've been operating for 40 years with surgical precision." Blackwood's mouth opens and closes soundlessly, his brain struggling to process information that reshapes his understanding of reality. The wine assault plays in his memory with horrifying new context, not just attacking a pregnant woman, but assaulting the wife of America's most dangerous crime boss. "The FBI has a task force dedicated solely to the Sterling organization," Webb explains, flipping through additional photographs. "Federal agents have spent 2 decades trying to build cases that stick. Witnesses develop selective amnesia. Evidence mysteriously disappears. Prosecutors find themselves reassigned to traffic court in Alaska." A second photograph shows Tony Sterling shaking hands with a federal judge outside a courthouse. The image captures casual familiarity that suggests relationships extending far beyond legal proceedings. In the last 15 years, 47 people who crossed the Sterling family have disappeared without trace. Businessmen, politicians, rival gangsters, they call it taking a permanent vacation. No bodies ever recovered. Blackwood's breathing becomes shallow and rapid. His penthouse office, once a symbol of untouchable power, now feels like a prison cell awaiting execution. Every sound from the street below makes him flinch. "There are sacred rules in their world," Webb continues relentlessly. "Rule number 1, you never ever touch a made man's family. What you did to his pregnant wife in public, in their culture, that's a death sentence carried out slowly and creatively." The intercom buzzes, making Blackwood jump like a startled rabbit. His secretary's voice crackles through the speaker. "Mr. Blackwood, there's a gentleman here to see you. He says it's about your wife." "I don't have a wife," Blackwood stammers, his voice barely recognizable. "He says you'll want to meet him anyway." The office door opens without permission. Tony Sterling enters like he owns the building, his presence filling the room with quiet menace. He wears a charcoal gray suit that costs more than most people's cars, but his real power radiates from something deeper than expensive clothing. Webb gathers his photographs with trembling hands and exits quickly, avoiding eye contact with the Don. The door closes with a soft click that sounds like a coffin lid sealing shut. Tony Sterling moves with the fluid grace of a predator, examining Blackwood's office with casual interest. He picks up a crystal paperweight, turning it over in his hands like he's calculating its value as a weapon. "Mr. Blackwood," Tony says quietly, his voice carrying the deadly calm of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. "We need to discuss your behavior toward my wife." Blackwood tries to stand, but his legs refuse to support his weight. Sweat beads on his forehead despite the air conditioning that suddenly seems inadequate against the heat of genuine terror. "In my world, respect is everything," Tony continues, setting the paperweight down with deliberate precision. "Family is sacred. You disrespected my pregnant wife in public. You humiliated her. You humiliated me." The words hang in the air like smoke from a funeral pyre. Tony Sterling sits down uninvited, his dark eyes never leaving Blackwood's face. The billionaire feels naked under that gaze, stripped of every protection money can buy. "I could have you killed tonight," Tony states matter-of-factly as if discussing weather forecasts. "One phone call, you disappear forever. Your body feeds fish in the Atlantic while your empire gets carved up among people who understand respect." Blackwood's bladder nearly releases as the full weight of his situation crashes down. This isn't corporate rivalry or legal maneuvering. This is life-or-death consequences for treating the wrong woman like she was powerless. "But my wife," Tony leans forward slightly. "She has a kind heart. She asked me to give you one chance to make this right." The offer hangs between them like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. Blackwood grasps for words, for solutions, for any escape from the nightmare his arrogance has created. "Money?" Blackwood gasps. "I can pay whatever you want. 50 million, 100 million? Tony's smile contains no warmth whatsoever. "Money. I make more in a week than you're worth, Mr. Blackwood. This isn't about money. This is about respect, honor, and the price of crossing my family." The Sterling family's retribution begins with surgical precision that transforms Harrison Blackwood from predator to prey within hours. Tony Sterling's ultimatum echoes in the billionaire's mind as concrete consequences materialize faster than falling stock prices. Tuesday morning arrives with Blackwood's face bruised purple and yellow from his accidental fall down the stairs at his penthouse. The swelling around his left eye makes him look like a beaten prizefighter, which accurately reflects his current situation. His hands shake uncontrollably as makeup artists attempt to cover the damage before his mandatory press conference. The Sterling family's instructions were crystal clear. Public humiliation matching the degradation he inflicted on Victoria Sterling, or permanent disappearance. The grand ballroom at the Regency Hotel fills with reporters whose cameras will broadcast his destruction nationwide. Blackwood approaches the podium like a condemned man walking to execution, each step measured and reluctant. "Ladies and gentlemen," he begins, his voice cracking with barely controlled terror. The prepared statement trembles in his bruised fingers as flash photography captures every moment of his downfall. "I am here to acknowledge that I am racist garbage who attacked a pregnant woman." The words taste like poison in his mouth, but Tony Sterling's associates standing in the back ensure complete compliance. "I threw wine in Victoria Sterling's face because I am a coward who preys on people I perceive as powerless. I am everything wrong with privileged white men in America." His voice breaks completely as he continues reading the script written by people who understand psychological warfare. "I beg Victoria Sterling's forgiveness and acknowledge that I deserve whatever consequences result from my actions." The final humiliation comes as cameras zoom in on his battered face. "I will now kneel and apologize properly to the woman I attacked." Blackwood's knees hit the marble floor with an audible crack that echoes through the silent ballroom. The billionaire who threw wine in a pregnant woman's face now grovels before the world, tears mixing with makeup covering his bruises. The video goes viral within minutes, but viewers notice what Blackwood's scripted apology cannot hide, genuine terror lurking behind his words. Social media explodes with speculation about who forced such complete submission. While Blackwood performs his public degradation, the Sterling network systematically dismantles his business empire through coordinated economic warfare. Union workers at Sterling-controlled ports declare sudden strikes affecting only Blackwood Industries shipments. Containers worth millions sit rotting on docks while competitors' cargo flows smoothly through different terminals. Banking relationships cultivated over decades evaporate overnight as loan officers discover irregular documentation requiring immediate review. Credit lines freeze while competitors secure financing at preferential rates through the same institutions. Blackwood Industries' stock price collapses as mysterious rumors circulate about federal investigations and accounting irregularities. Share values drop 40% in 2 days while short sellers profit from precisely timed trades. His personal world crumbles with equal efficiency. Madison Blackwood files for divorce within hours of receiving a visit from well-dressed women who politely explained how dangerous marriages become when husbands make certain mistakes. "I'm taking the children to Switzerland," Madison announces via her attorney, refusing all direct communication. "Their safety is my only priority now." Country club memberships disappear as boards cite conduct unbecoming clauses. Charity organizations remove his name from buildings, returning millions in contributions to avoid association with his toxic reputation. His Fifth Avenue penthouse faces foreclosure as banks call in loans secured by properties suddenly deemed high risk. Private jets get grounded for maintenance issues requiring indefinite delays. Even basic services become complicated. Grocery stores experience delivery problems to his address. Restaurants have no availability when he calls for reservations. His personal physician's office suddenly has no appointments available. Victoria Sterling issues a brief statement through her attorney, demonstrating grace that highlights Blackwood's barbarism. "I accept Mr. Blackwood's apology and hope this experience teaches him to treat all people with basic human dignity." Her composure contrasts sharply with his groveling, winning additional public sympathy while reinforcing the narrative of dignified victim versus cowardly aggressor. Tony Sterling sends a final message through intermediaries. "This is just the beginning. You wanted to humiliate my wife. Now you understand what real humiliation feels like." By week's end, Harrison Blackwood sits alone in his rapidly emptying penthouse, watching his empire dissolve like sugar in acid. Phone calls go unanswered. Emails bounce back undelivered. Former allies avoid him like plague. The Sterling family has demonstrated their reach while maintaining plausible deniability. No laws broken, no direct threats made, just systematic removal of every protection wealth previously provided. Blackwood finally understands the difference between having money and wielding true power. His billions cannot protect him from consequences when he crosses people who operate by different rules entirely. The man who thought himself untouchable now lives in constant fear, realizing his comfortable world was always an illusion that real power could shatter instantly. 3 months after the wine assault, the Sterling family's long-term destruction plan enters its final phase with the methodical precision of a military campaign designed to erase Harrison Blackwood from existence without leaving fingerprints. Tony Sterling sits in his private office reviewing detailed reports that read like a corporate autopsy. Steam rises from his espresso cup as he studies financial documents showing Blackwood Industries hemorrhaging money through carefully orchestrated pressure points across multiple industries. "Phase 3 is ready, boss," Sal Benedetto announces, spreading blueprints across the mahogany desk. "We got union strikes at every port from Boston to Norfolk. Nothing moves for Blackwood without our say-so." The Sterling network's infrastructure warfare operates like invisible hands strangling Blackwood's supply chains. Longshoremen controlled by Sterling unions suddenly discover urgent safety concerns affecting only shipments destined for Blackwood facilities. Containers worth $50 million sit rotting on docks, while competitors' cargo flows smoothly through alternative terminals. Construction crews building Blackwood's flagship headquarters abandon the project overnight. Work permits mysteriously expire, requiring months of reapplication through bureaucratic maze. The half-finished skyscraper stands like a concrete tombstone marking the death of Blackwood's ambitions. Trucking companies experience selective mechanical failures when hauling Blackwood merchandise. Sterling-influenced Teamster locals declare sympathy strikes that target specific routes while maintaining plausible deniability about coordinated sabotage. Meanwhile, federal agencies launch simultaneous investigations that seem coincidental but follow Sterling family intelligence gathered over decades of corrupting government officials. The IRS audit expands into criminal investigation when agents discover suspicious offshore accounts that Blackwood used for tax avoidance. Financial records mysteriously surface showing patterns of fraud dating back 15 years. FBI agents raid Blackwood Industries headquarters, seizing computers and documents related to government contracts. The investigation focuses on discriminatory hiring practices that Sterling Associates documented through years of patient surveillance. Environmental Protection Agency inspectors find violations at every Blackwood facility, imposing fines that total hundreds of millions. The same EPA officials who ignored identical issues at other companies suddenly become zealous enforcers when examining Blackwood properties. The Securities and Exchange Commission opens a fraud investigation based on anonymous tips about accounting irregularities. Stock manipulation charges loom as trading patterns reveal suspicious activities that federal prosecutors find compelling. Digital warfare complements physical sabotage as Sterling hired hackers penetrate Blackwood's computer networks with surgical precision. Corporate databases suffer mysterious corruptions that erase years of customer information and financial records. Website crashes during critical business presentations cost millions in lost contracts. Email systems fail at precisely the wrong moments, preventing Blackwood from responding to time-sensitive opportunities. Banking relationships that survived initial pressure finally collapse under coordinated assault. Major institutions simultaneously call in loans while citing risk management concerns that appear legitimate but follow Sterling family orchestration. Credit ratings plummet as mysterious debt obligations surface through shell companies that trace back to Sterling-controlled entities. Blackwood discovers he owes hundreds of millions to creditors whose true ownership remains hidden behind legal maze. Insurance companies cancel policies citing increased risk profiles that make coverage impossible to obtain elsewhere. Without insurance, Blackwood cannot operate facilities or secure new contracts. The stock market responds predictably to systematic destruction. Share prices collapse as institutional investors flee based on insider information about pending government actions. Blackwood Industries becomes worthless paper while competitors acquire assets at bankruptcy prices. Personal destruction parallels corporate annihilation with equally devastating efficiency. Madison Blackwood's divorce proceedings reveal hidden assets that judges freeze pending investigation. Swiss bank accounts face scrutiny from international authorities who suddenly discover irregularities requiring immediate attention. His children's private schools expel them citing security concerns after receiving anonymous threats about their father's business associations. The expulsions follow them to every elite institution as private school networks share information about problematic families. Country club memberships worldwide revoke simultaneously as boards discover moral turpitude clauses in membership agreements. Charity organizations remove his name from buildings and donor walls, returning contributions to avoid association with his reputation. Real estate holdings face foreclosure as banks exercise acceleration clauses triggered by his deteriorating financial position. The Fifth Avenue penthouse, Hamptons Estate, and Miami Beach mansion all receive eviction notices within the same week. Private jets get grounded for safety violations discovered during routine inspections. His yacht suffers engine failure while docked in international waters, requiring expensive repairs that insurance refuses to cover. Even basic services become impossible to obtain. Grocery stores stop delivering to his address due to route optimization. Restaurants have no availability when he calls. His personal physician drops him as a patient, citing scheduling conflicts. The ultimate humiliation comes when Tony Sterling's shell companies purchase Blackwood Industries' debt at pennies on the dollar during bankruptcy proceedings. The billionaire who attacked Sterling's wife now owes everything to the man whose family he insulted. "Mr. Blackwood," Tony Sterling announces during their final meeting in the empty Blackwood Industries boardroom, "you now work for me. Minimum wage, no benefits, and you'll be grateful for the opportunity." The choice Sterling offers carries typical mob logic: death or indentured servitude. Blackwood chooses life, accepting employment as janitor in Sterling-owned restaurants at $15 per hour. News outlets document the spectacular fall with fascination typically reserved for natural disasters. From billionaire to bankrupt, the Blackwood collapse becomes required reading in business schools studying corporate destruction. Victoria Sterling emerges as the story's moral center, her dignity throughout the ordeal contrasting sharply with Blackwood's cowardice. She grants a single interview to 60 Minutes, speaking with quiet authority about systemic racism and the importance of consequences. Harrison Blackwood thought his wealth protected him from accountability, she tells Leslie Stahl while holding baby Sophia. He learned that some actions carry prices that money cannot pay. The interview generates 20 million viewers who see Victoria as representing justice prevailing over privilege. Her law practice flourishes as high-profile clients seek representation from the woman who brought down a racist billionaire. Federal prosecutors ultimately declined criminal charges against Tony Sterling, finding no evidence linking him to Blackwood's business failures. The destruction appears to result from market forces and government investigations rather than organized crime activity. Harrison Blackwood's transformation from billionaire to minimum wage worker becomes a cautionary tale about the consequences of racism and arrogance. His fall demonstrates that true power operates beyond the reach of money and that family honor matters more than corporate profits. The Sterling family's systematic destruction of Blackwood takes exactly 6 months, proving that patient planning and deep connections can accomplish what the legal system often cannot. Justice arrives through different channels when traditional methods fail. 1 year later, Victoria Sterling sits in her expanded law office overlooking Central Park, autumn sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Baby Sophia sleeps peacefully in her arms, tiny fingers wrapped around her mother's thumb. The walls display new awards recognizing Victoria's civil rights work and framed thank-you letters from discrimination victims whose cases she won. The scent of fresh flowers fills the room from arrangements sent by grateful clients. Victoria's assistant schedules interviews with major news networks while handling requests from publishers wanting to document her story. She has become a national symbol of dignity, triumphing over hatred. Tony Sterling appears in the doorway, his presence still commanding but softened when viewing his wife and daughter. He approaches quietly, kissing Victoria's forehead before gently stroking Sophia's dark hair. "Family is everything," he says quietly, his voice carrying the weight of someone who has proven that principle through decisive action. "Respect is earned through how you treat others, especially those you think cannot fight back." Harrison Blackwood learned that lesson too late. The camera cuts to Harrison Blackwood mopping floors at Benedetto's restaurant in Queens, wearing a stained uniform that bears the Sterling family logo. The former billionaire's hands, once manicured for boardroom handshakes, now show calluses from manual labor and cleaning chemicals. Restaurant customers occasionally recognize the disgraced mogul, pointing and whispering while taking selfies with the fallen titan. Blackwood keeps his head down, avoiding eye contact as he empties trash bins and scrubs toilets for $15 per hour. His studio apartment in a rough Brooklyn neighborhood contains only basic furniture and a mattress on the floor. No artwork, no luxury items, no reminders of his former wealth. The man who once commanded billion-dollar empires now counts quarters for laundry money. Victoria's reflection carries the authority of someone who survived assault and witnessed perfect justice. She speaks directly to the camera, her voice steady and compelling. "That night at the charity gala, Harrison Blackwood thought he could humiliate me because I was black, pregnant, and appeared powerless. He saw weakness where there was strength. He saw isolation where there was family." Sophia stirs slightly in her mother's arms, representing hope for a more just future. Victoria's wedding ring catches light, subtly reminding viewers of the protection that delivered consequences. "My husband taught me that in life, you protect those you love, and you hold accountable those who hurt them." Blackwood thought his billions made him untouchable. He discovered that some people have different kinds of power. The message resonates beyond personal revenge into broader social commentary about accountability and consequences for racist behavior. Real justice isn't always found in courtrooms and legal proceedings. Sometimes it comes through community, through family, through people who refuse to let evil go unpunished. Blackwood got exactly what he deserved. Victoria's tone shifts to address universal themes that transcend her specific experience. Racism isn't just morally wrong, it's dangerous. When you attack someone because of their race, you're not just hurting them individually. You're attacking their family, their community, their ancestors' legacy, and sometimes that family fights back. She pauses, allowing the weight of her words to settle before continuing with personal growth themes. "This experience taught me that strength comes in many forms. Sometimes it's quiet dignity under attack. Sometimes it's the love of family that protects you. And sometimes it's knowing that justice will find its way even when traditional systems fail. The social commentary expands to address viewers directly about their role in combating racism. To every racist who thinks they can humiliate people of color without consequences, you never know who you're dealing with. That pregnant woman you're insulting might be married to someone who can destroy your entire world. Victoria's call to action challenges viewers to take personal responsibility for fighting injustice. If you see racism, don't stay silent. If you witness someone being humiliated for their race, speak up. Stand with the victim. Record the incident. Share it widely. Make racism expensive for those who practice it. The community message emphasizes collective power over individual helplessness. We all have power in different ways. Use yours to protect the innocent, lift up the vulnerable, and stand against injustice. Because when we stand together, no racist billionaire can defeat us. Victoria's final warning carries implications beyond her personal story. Harrison Blackwood thought he was untouchable. One act of racism destroyed his entire life. Think about that the next time you consider disrespecting someone because they look different from you. She looks down at baby Sophia, representing the future generation that will inherit the consequences of today's choices. My daughter will grow up knowing that her parents fought for respect and dignity. She'll learn that family protects family and that justice sometimes wears different faces. The final call to action encourages viewer engagement and sharing. Share this story if you believe actions have consequences. Subscribe for more stories where arrogance meets accountability. Comment below. Have you ever seen racism get exactly what it deserved? The ending question prompts reflection and discussion while reinforcing the central theme. Harrison Blackwood thought billions could protect him from consequences. He learned that when you mess with the wrong family, money becomes meaningless. What would you do if someone disrespected your family like this? The final image shows Victoria standing at her window holding Sophia, while Tony's silhouette appears in the doorway, a reminder that true power protects the innocent and punishes evil. Text appears on screen. Respect everyone. You never know who their family is.